Ghanaians should brace themselves for the birth of the country's 18th political party, the National Democratic Party. The new party is expected to be certified by the Electoral Commission in a few weeks. The party said to have been formed by the Rawlinses is expected to contest the December polls. In an interview with Joy News, the interim national chairman of the NDP, Dr. Josiah Ayer, dismissed suggestions that the party is made up of former members of the ruling National Democratic Congress who are unhappy with how they have been treated by the ruling party.
Why are they peeved? What are they peeved about? I'm sure we've all seen a lot of things happening. There's been a lot of mileage. We have seen in particular that there's no due process within the NDC. There have been times when they've had occasion to acquit themselves. In my personal case, for instance, of course, false charges were raised against me. I denied them. I said they were doctored. And for a political party, an institution professing democracy, not to be able to go into this matter and come to a resolution is amazing. After 8 whole years. When these things are going on and we were in the inner sanctum of the party, and we are telling you, all is not well. You don't have to wait till it happens to you. So when you sit around and you see wrong being done to others, and you think, oh, it's others, it will never happen to me, you better be careful. Especially when those others were very close to the people who are doing those things, and those people have no sense of justice whatsoever, no basic value of justice. So that they say, look, let right be done. Everybody just thinks a willful blind eye, and these things are some of the things, these are only symptoms, but the disease, the malaise is there, and I think it's about time we all rooted it, and not see people who point to these things and spotlight them and say that they must be corrected as wrong people, because these, revolve human sensibilities. It revolves into our conscience, and yet nothing gets done. So they don't sort it out in terms of people they know. How can they claim they're going to sort it out with people in the peripheries of their country, the farmers, the fishermen, the laborers, the kayayi? How could they do that to them? They can't even do justice to one of their own.
Meanwhile, sources within the party have confirmed to Joy News the party's headquarters will be at the offices of the 31st December movement at Ridge and will be led by spokespersons to the Rawlinses, Kofi Adams, Roxanne Mambo, Dr. Ofe Ajiman, and other seasoned politicians. In a related development, barely 24 hours after an announcement of the formation of a new political party, the National Democratic Party, NDP, the ruling National Democratic Congress has issued a statement describing the association of the political party with ex-President Rawlings as mere speculations. The statement, signed by National Propaganda Secretary Richard Kwashiga, says until former President Rawlings speaks out, the NDC will not comment on the matter, and admonishes those who speak in the name of the NDC to rather focus on the achievement of the Mills administration. Richard Kwashiga urged loyal and genuine members of the NDC to work as a family and remain resolute in the conviction that God will bring victory to the NDC. In other stories, lawyer Samuel Atachia, counsel for the 4 political parties NDC, NPP, CPP and PNC, who have sued the EC over the scheduled by-elections in Woolensey and Kwabre West, says his clients are poised to put an end to what he describes as EC's lawlessness. But the Electoral Commission is adamant and has plans of going ahead with the by-elections.
The 4 leading political parties, the ruling National Democratic Congress, and 3 opposition parties, the New Patriotic Party, Convention People's Party, and the People's National Convention, recently filed a writ at the High Court to prevent the Electoral Commission from conducting by-elections in the Woolensey and Kwabre West constituencies. The seats became vacant following the death of the members of parliament for both constituencies, Alhaji Sani Idi, an independent member of parliament, and Emmanuel Owusu-Ansah of NPP last month. Lawyer for the parties and member of parliament for Ibuakwa South, Samuel Atachia, says conducting by-elections with the old voter register is unlawful.
The law says that after people have registered, it will be cleaned up. So a provisional one will be put in the public domain for it to be cleaned up. And if it's not done, what are you going to do with any elections? So we don't have a voters' roll because the old one has been revoked by the current one. There might be a need for a by-election, but from my perspective as a lawyer, there's no legal basis to do so. Why should a constitutional body embark on an exercise which is pure lawlessness? It won't help anybody.
But the Electoral Commission has stated its resolve to go ahead with the by-elections in spite of the several protestations.
Minister of Defense Lieutenant Colonel Henry Smith was denied a chance to answer a question about his ministry in Parliament today. The minority side of Parliament pleaded for an adjournment to enable them join in the one-week celebration of the late NP for Kwabre West, Emmanuel Owusu-Ansah.
Parliament was today thrown into a frenzy when members on both sides of the House tried to lobby for time to mourn the late member for Kwabre West, Emmanuel Owusu-Ansah. Members on the minority side called for a postponement of the answer time to enable them catch an early flight to mourn their lost colleague. They therefore proposed that the Defence Minister be made to answer one question to be posed by MP for German South, Yao Afo. But Deputy Majority Leader Rashid Pelpo appealed to the minority side of Parliament to understand the situation.
Because this is not part of the public business, and we all agree that we will not go into public business, rather than continuing in this back and front discussion, let's just allow the minister to respond to the question.
Although the members had decided to allow the Defence Minister to respond to the question from the member for German South, the Deputy Minority Whip raised an objection which was seconded by members on the side of his divide. MP for New Juaben North, Hackman Owusu-Agyemang, said the answer to the question from Yao Afo was too loaded and could not be properly dissected in a rush.
In fact, in my 16 years here, I haven't seen a question as well answered as this one. However,
I have seen one which is longer than this one. And I can tell you the minister the former minister who provided the answer.
Mr. Speaker, I said...
He is now one of the presidential candidates of one of the political parties in this country.
Mr. Speaker, I said, not only I said as comprehensive. It can be long, but not be comprehensive to the subject matter.
In the midst of all these, the Defence Minister sat calmly, poised to answer the question whenever it was finally thrown at him. First Deputy Speaker of Parliament Do Ajaho, in his attempt to be fair to the Minister of Defence, suggested proceedings went ahead. In his view, social issues did not have to precede parliamentary issues, as parliamentarians are accountable to the people of Ghana, even though the one-week celebration was very important to both sides of Parliament. He, however, had to give in to the minority's request, since they were not ready to yield to the plea of the majority.
They want to go and mourn. I cannot force people to ask questions. I, sitting here, cannot force people who pose questions to a minister to ask questions, and on that basis, question time is over. Honorable Minister, we thank you very much for attending upon the House. Honorable Deputy Majority Leader.
It was interesting, however, to note that the arguments and counter-arguments took almost 30 minutes, arguably the length of time the Defence Minister, Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Henry Smith, could have used to answer the questions.
Away from the floor of Parliament, our North MP, Kennedy Ohene-Agyapong, faces fresh charges after the state filed a writ to discontinue the first case against him. The NPP firebrand was facing charges of terrorism and genocide following his alleged war declaration comments. Now he will be tried on provocation of rout and offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace.
On Wednesday, July 4, the Supreme Court advised the Attorney General's Department to file a writ stating it was not willing to go ahead with the prosecution of treason felony, attempted genocide, and acts of terrorism charges against Kennedy Agyapong. The state had gone to the Supreme Court with a motion asking the court to quash proceedings in the High Court, contending the High Court does not have the mandate to try the case in respect of the charges leveled against Kennedy Agyapong. But the Supreme Court declined the request, insisting there were other remedies available to the state and there was no need to invoke the Supreme Court's jurisdiction on the matter. Heeding to the advice of the Supreme Court, the state, led by Principal State Attorney Anthony Rexford Riedu, filed a motion in court forcing the trial judge to discharge the accused person. But in a matter of minutes, the state preferred two new charges on the North MP. provocation of riot in contravention of Section 200 of the Criminal Offences Act 29 of 1960, and offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace, which contravenes Act 207 of the Criminal Offences Act 29 of 1960. However, lead counsel for Kennedy Agyapong, Ayikwe Otu, described the two charges as bailable by law.
Clearly, those words cannot constitute those grave charges that they leveled against him. I don't see how, if somebody, makes an ordinary statement, you can charge him with genocide. Genocide means wiping away a whole tribe from the surface of the earth. And a person speaks, and you say that is genocide. He speaks only once. I kept on saying that it's unlike Burundi and Rwanda, where it was consistent. You keep on calling upon the people to act. But a man speaks once and draws an analogy between what is happening at Jamestown and what is happening in Biakui or other places. Then you say genocide, then you say treason. Then what was the other one? Treason, felony, terrorism. Terrorism, people strap themselves with, ammunition and go and explode them. That is terrorism. So clearly, I think that they've done what is expected of them. We should not condemn them, but we should rather, encourage them to do what is right in the face of the law, the Constitution, and what is right towards humanity.
Lawyer Ayikwe Otu is confident his client will walk a free man at the end of the trial, even with the two new charges preferred against him.
Peki Senior High is one of the oldest second-cycle schools in the Volta region, yet after 55 years of existence, it is in a very poor state. Our Volta regional correspondent Komla Ado reports students even attend classes in the school kitchen because classrooms are inadequate.
Pupils study under trees due to inadequate classrooms. Even the available classrooms are shared by two different classes. Some attend class in the school kitchen, hence displacing the kitchen staff.
You don't have proper kitchen. We are using firewood and the smoke to is killing us. I don't have proper office. This is where I'm sitting, is my office. This is where I keep my things and I do my book waste. There's no proper store for us to store food stuff. And where we are storing the food stuff to is full of mouse. So we are appealing to the government to do something about it.
Dormitory facilities are compromised. There are no proper washrooms. Students visit this KVIP in great danger. Students are not only attacked by snakes, but thieves frequently attack students because the school is not fenced. Only 3 tutors are resident on campus because they lack bungalows. According to the PTA chairman, even the existing bungalow is a donation from the PTA. The headmaster J.N.Y. Agbai says all projects in the school have been abandoned.
And the rate at which the contractors are working is so slow that when something drastic, if government does not intervene, then come September, there will be a lot of problem in Peki Senior High.
He wants government to develop the school's infrastructure urgently.
Certainly a call to educational stakeholders in the country. Moving on to other stories. 3 weeks ago, Joy News brought to you a story on pedestrians dangerously crossing the N1 highway, ignoring the footbridges that dot the way. Jojo Kobina reports that nothing has changed as road users continue to ignore the dangers to their persons, crossing at dangerous sections of the N1 without a care. So we ask, what pushed people to do the wrong thing, even when they know it is still wrong?
Over 20 deaths have been recorded on this stretch of the N1 highway since it was commissioned on February 15, 2012. Yet pedestrians will still want to risk it, caring less about their lives. For over an hour, I watched people cross dangerously, and I was surprised at the extent to which we're willing to go. Children, young men, young women, and even the old risk their lives daily. What reason will these people give for crossing the road when the overhead bridge is so close to them? Some said they were spiritually protected.
No, I know that it's very dangerous, but you see, because of the short distance, that's why I've just dropped and then go back again. Oh, no, I know that God will be with me, so I will never die.
Perhaps this scene is the most disturbing.
You see, my house is just here, so I can't go and pass far away. That's why I'm risking my life here. It's bad. But what do I do?
Pedestrians shy away from me when I sought to find out why they were going through this risk.
I want to know why.
Perhaps they are waiting for government to spend huge sums of money to erect barbed wires on this stretch of the N1 highway. This certainly is Ghana. Georgia Kobna, Joy News.
Chiefs of the Adan traditional area are asking government to pay some attention to developing their community. They made this request during a courtesy call on the Greater Accra Regional Minister Laye Afotiagbo. According to them, the Adan community is facing numerous challenges in addition to the fact that government is yet to honor its promise of constructing a landing port in the area to bring development to the people.
We have our Songo Lagoon project. Some time past, we were made to understand that the government was going to repeal the PNDC Law 287 to replace it with one that will promote public-private partnership. So we were all happy about that. So up to now, we have been waiting, and then after a lot of consultations, courtesy calls, petitions, and resolutions, up to now we have not heard anything. We have not seen anything concrete being done. So the creation of the new district, formerly it was Dangbe East District, now it is Adan East, Adan West. And you know, Adan is just one ethnic area, and we have one main resource, which is the Songo Lagoon. So we've come to talk to him so that how the resources, that is proceeds from the resources, will be actually shared equally or equitably, so that no one district is actually cheated.
The Greater Accra Regional Minister Laye Afotiagbo assured them of government's commitment to addressing their grievances in the shortest possible time.
Some of the things we've even started working on them. They first mentioned about the Songo Lagoon, government handing it over to the community. They also talked about their boundary problems. They also talked about security along their boundaries, because they are getting some interference and encroachments in certain parts of their boundary with the Volta region. I've assured them that I'm going to link up with my colleague on the other side. If I say on the other side, I'm talking about the regional minister for Volta region. Discuss it, invite surveyors or the directors of survey from the two regions, and also the national director of survey, for us to have a stakeholders meeting, discuss this issue, and then make sure that the existing boundaries or the original boundary is maintained.
In other news, weddings are exciting times for people, but the budget is not the most romantic discussion when one is planning for the big day. Experts say wedding budget and preparations should start early to reduce the amount of stress and debt people run into during and after their wedding.
A lot of factors are considered in planning and budgeting for weddings: the cake, wedding gown, bridal car, reception venue, refreshment, and most importantly, the rings. Most people would want to have extravagant wedding ceremonies, and so would run into huge debt on the first day of their marriage.
It's very important not to impress those who are coming to the wedding, but actually make sure your wedding comes alive. There are two different things. It's one thing making sure your wedding comes alive, and it's one thing impressing them. If you are going to impress them, the chances are you are going to overspend. And overspending aside that after your wedding, then the problem of paying back comes in. And this is where the difficulty is.
Budgeting is an essential part of planning for the big day.
It is very important to have a sense of budgeting. You have to try and get to the people who are the various vendors, how much drinks you are going to do, what type of decor do you want to have, what dress, you know. You have to start this almost about a year. When you are settled on the specific vendors, you start paying. Little drops of water, they make a mighty ocean.
This is what experts advise.
Don't do anything that will send you out of pocket. Be always comfortable with the amount of money that you are going to spend. Sometimes, you see, all the fingers are not equal. Wedding does not mean having a huge wedding, a huge affair. You can keep it small, but enjoyable. You see, it's better for you not to engage in the stress afterwards.
So the fantasies must go down, realities must set in. And if you have a plan for a future home, which you are going to establish, then you will not just be relying on the fantasies. You will learn how to be modest. If you have the money, do what you have to do to make you happy.
Walking down the aisle with smiles and a mind free of debt would certainly make your first day of marriage blissful.
A piece of advice for future prospective couples. It is by far one of Ghana's biggest tourism exports, yet it has little or no recognition among Ghanaians. Interestingly, foreigners who visit the country do appreciate and have great value for the subject. Their reasons for patronage are varied. So why is the nation not reposing confidence in the ability of its skilled men to enable the nation derive maximum benefit from this subject? Joy News' Walalom Johnson has been finding out more and has filed this report.
Sculpture, poetry, ceramics and painting are all forms of art, just like the performing arts. But here in Ghana, the performing arts appears to be receiving all the attention whenever discussions about the arts are held, relegating the visual or fine arts to the background. A host of Ghanaian visual artists such as Amon Kote, who designed Ghana's coat of arms, and others who have in diverse ways crafted significant portions of the country's landmark, remain relatively unknown in their own country, yet they are big players on the international scene. Every artifact produced by a visual artist has its own meaning and its intended use. Paintings, for instance, do have a psychological impact on their consumers. They have the tendency to heal the sick or revive one's spirit. But paintings can also subject one to emotional torture, depending on the kind of material and colors used to execute them. Artifacts such as this huge masterpiece, often seen in hotels, are forever owned by their makers because they are only meant to be hired for a period of time and brought back to the owner. They are often tagged as priceless. The mystery surrounding it is enough to make you fall in love with it, but that's another topic to be explored later. It would be a bit hard to keep such artifacts at home, but there is always something for everyone in the gallery.
They feel relevant, they feel topical, they feel like something I can relate to. Colors are very vibrant, the pictures are clearly African, they're not a copy of anything else from some other place.
This is the first time I come to Ghana, and you know, the dresses, the necklace and everything else, I have never seen them before, so it's really good, it's really beautiful and fantastic.
People hold different perceptions about artists, but art enthusiasts think they are a marvel and their handiworks make a living meaningful to man.
I believe being a Ghanaian and an African for that matter, there's so much to learn from the art. And to tell you, there are so many things that we're missing because we don't even know where we're coming from. And for me, having traveled across this country, I'm learning so much. So every time I'm trying to see what there is that I haven't learned yet. And I have a group of friends to young people that are really so much interested in this. Some are in the country and others are not in the country, but still they want to know about their roots. You cannot stop learning, you know, especially about our roots.
I have visited a few art studios and galleries and met with some giants of the industry.
most of my artwork is to highlight the one to my right. It's a question I'm asking, Nicaragua, is it a slum or paradise? For people outside, they'll see it as a slum. But those who live in there have a whole different experience and whole joy, which people in the most sophisticated urban areas may not even really experience that joy.
Ignorance is always a disease, as people say, but art is truly for blessedness. Now let me say this to the whole world, that in a nation where people don't embrace art and science, that nation never develops.
Today I'm in the studios of one of the greatest painters of this nation. His name is Tay. When he was in school at the Ghanata School of Art and Design, he was such great that his works were selling really fast. And he's got a message for the Ghanaian.
I want every Ghanaian to appreciate art and see it to be something so special that every home should at least have a piece of art to show the heritage and the culture of the Ghanaian people.
But do Ghanaians appreciate art? Yes, they do. But parting with a few hundred cedis is not the average Ghanaian's ideal way of owning a piece of artwork.
The Ghanaian by nature really is extremely artistic. It's not poor in sense of appreciation in aesthetic matters. The Ghanaian is particularly very good. I mean, look at how our Ghanaians dress, the colors they choose, the things they do with themselves. We are very much into it. Contemporary art today, as we know, it is quite, you put in quite something before you can acquire some. So it looks like the Ghanaian is not appreciating. It's very much appreciating what is around. He may not necessarily be putting his hand in his pocket to acquire one. Painting has some other element. The element I mentioned is the poverty of the pocket.
That's where Ghanaians lack the passion for art. But for luxury, the least said, the better. Renowned Ghanaian painter Nana Yawakwa believes the Ghanaian artist wields enormous potential, and since art is now a serious business in other parts of the world, there is the need to invest in the Ghanaian artist.
If you decide to promote contemporary Ghanaian art, but how are you going to do it? Conviction. Do we have true connoisseurs? The so-called Ghanaian buyer is someone who has some money to spare. Kojo is buying. I went to Kojo's place, he bought a new set of furniture, and he's got some wall pictures. Unfortunately, that's how the so-called Ghanaian, or creme de la creme, let's put it that way, right? They are not up there yet. But art is serious business. Art is an investment. Why would someone buy an African artist? Because Marlene Dumas in South Africa would sell her painting for $1 million plus. There's Elana Tree, who is Ghanaian. You know how much Elle sells? $1 million, $1.5 million. It doesn't even come in between. He's thinking of a new car, right? Value of which will depreciate. But look, we're talking about credit crunch, right? The true collectors out there in the Western world are investing in art, not necessarily African art. That's a new thing. But you don't expect the Europeans or the Americans to tell your golden tales for you. You see, the value you expect people to put on you depends on the premium you are willing to sacrifice on your own head. This is why, bet my bottom dollar, in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, all our best works will be in the West. You know why? Because even now that we are selling for next to nothing, the Ghanaian feels the artist doesn't deserve it.
One important aspect en route to loving artwork, therefore, is trying to trace the message they carry and, gradually, the conviction to support the contemporary African artist would eat into our existence. The artist will not give up on what he does best. Fortunately, the interest of the average Ghanaian in the visual arts is growing, and one can only hope this interest translates into the purchase of works created by these artists. Walalom Johnson for Joy News.
For the first time, fashion designers from across the country will converge at one place to showcase their products and designers at the first ever fashion festival. The festival, which comes off at the place at the Trade Fair Center, is aimed at showcasing the brightest and best of Ghanaian and African fashion lifestyle.
The Fashion Festival, which is being organized by Fashionista GH in partnership with Bensifi, will offer Ghanaians an opportunity to shop for clothes made in Ghana and indeed on the African continent at one place. The festival is the first of its kind to be organized in Ghana.
It's a gathering of the finest Ghanaian designers, and we're bringing them all together at one place called The Place inside the Trade Fair Center.
According to Obodai Abensa, CEO of Fashionista GH, one way to revive the Ghanaian fashion industry, which appears to be on the decline, is to make products by Ghanaian designers easily accessible to people. Obodai explains why the country's fashion industry is on the decline.
Because they are not sewing in large numbers, their production costs are rather high. So if this thing goes on and then we can get more people demanding their clothes, then they can start sewing for more people and start sewing in larger numbers, then the prices can come down. So one of the ways you can combat it is to start patronizing their wares from now onwards.
The festival, dubbed the Fashionista GH Shopping Festival, is slated for Saturday, July 7th this year at The Place, the new event hub at the Trade Fair Center, Accra. Patrons who throng the festival will have free photographs, free makeup for both men and women, exciting outdoor entertainment and more.
Now let's go for some music. After almost 4 years away from the spotlight, one of the most popular hip-life artists of his time, Quintin Hene, has announced his return to the music circuit with a controversial single titled You Go Pay.
Born Emmanuel Nana Appiah Boateng, Quintin Hene burst onto the music scene in the early 2000s and gained instant success with his debut album Nyankonton, which had hits like Aketesia and Asasan. Aketesia won him the Song of the Year award during that year's Ghana Music Awards. Quintin Hene dropped off the radar after his song Crowing Crow amid reports that he had relocated to the United States. Recent rumors say Quintin Hene is now born again and a preacher. But Quintin Hene says he only took a break from active music so he could study the current trends in hip life and make an informed decision on the way forward for his career. It looks like the right time has arrived and he has announced his latest controversial single, You Go Pay. The song highlights some of the immoral acts that are plaguing the Ghanaian society in recent times, like politics of insult, promiscuity, among others. He hopes his new single will relaunch his career in a grand style.
We move out of Ghana, but still on the music industry. Multi-talented rapper, actor, entrepreneur, and record producer 50 Cent turns 37 today. And well, we can only guess he will be doing some Bacardi sipping and much, much more. A couple of weeks ago, the Get Rich or Die Trying star was involved in an accident, which he survived by a close shave.
Born Curtis James Jackson III, he gained megastar status in 2003. He is an American rapper, entrepreneur, investor, record producer, and actor. He rose to fame with the release of his album Get Rich or Die Trying in 2003, which has gone 8 times platinum. 50 Cent has recently revealed the title of his next album. It will be called Street King Immortal, and it is due out in November this year. Despite having no promotion, singles or videos for his new independent album, 50 Cent still has plans to release his project later as promised, although that's not all that he has on deck for 2012. After months of public distaste for his label album of Interscope Records, 50 says he will first provide fans with what he calls an appetizer in the form of 5, Murder by Numbers. 50's latest major label album, Before I Self-Destruct, was released in November 2009, and since then he has put out several mixtapes, including The Big Ten and the recently released The Lost Tape with DJ Drama. As he celebrates his birthday today, we certainly know where to find him tonight in the club.
Some birthday chilling there. Well, before we leave you, we take you through some quick stories in the entertainment.
Few days after the showdown between Ghana and Nigeria at the dome of the Accra International Conference Center, 4x4 have engaged their Nigerian counterpart YQ at the studio to work to do a brand new single titled Block Money. Block Money is set to be a Ghana-Niger collabo on the forthcoming album of both parties. The group is promising a masterpiece to be produced by A-Frame, a signed, sealed, and delivered Ghanaian beat maker. According to 4x4, the song is ready for release, but they are holding on to it until they are done shooting the video for the song. Also on Tidbits today, sometimes fame can get you into the wrong hands just as much as it gets you all the great favors. Nigerian music star Davido got a heavy pat on face when a Nigerian military police stopped the car in which he was traveling after a show. The fast-rising musician will not allow the uniformed man to run their routine check on his car and kept ranting about who he is. Sources say after a while of cursing and swearing, an angry uniformed man slapped famous Davido. As for the timely intervention of his entourage, he would have had another good slap on the face. Poor Davido. Now finally, before we go on the international front, pop star Rihanna has sued her former accountants. Pop star Rihanna has sued her former accountants for mismanaging her finances, claiming they earned huge commissions from concert tours that resulted in her losing millions of dollars. In a lawsuit filed in Manhattan Federal Court, the Surface, the 24-year-old singer and a tour company tour Rihanna are seeking an unspecified amount of compensatory damages and loss of earnings from accountancy firm Burden LLP and former employees Michael Mitnick and Peter Gunas. Whoever they are, they must be.
Okay, so you don't want to lose out on anything from the news of the entertainment? Well, then catch us here same time tomorrow for more news from the entertainment world.